Greetings, friends, members of our dear, contaminated and only spacecraft, which once again, since the last time we met, has turned 3 times on its imaginary axis and, of course, continues generating events in pleno desarrollo, which once again lead us to the Far East in this very, I would say, premeditated area. The Korea War, it's an old topic. Even the youngest ones should know that after the horrible Second World War, where for the first time nuclear weapons were tested on civilian targets, United States against Japan, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, there were still wounds remained, because then came Korea. If we could defeat the Third Reich, we could defeat Korea. But the thing is that they couldn't defeat Korea. And the winners of Korea, as we have repeated ad nauseum, to the south, when they wanted to have the entire peninsula, the result was that it was divided in parallel 38, sadly, famous between North Korea and South Korea. The war stopped there, but there is no peace plan. There's an armistice. We must even have to remind it for the new generations that watch Dossier and like it so much. The negotiations table was in the middle of the 38, parallel 38, calculated with the most sophisticated resources at the time. The middle of the table was marked with a white line. Peace was achieved? No. They continued with an armistice. Kim Il-sung, a great leader, managed something that seemed to be impossible. Those who defeated the Third Reich were defeated in Korea. That was a wound for U.S. pride, and not much pride for those who came after that massacre. And then came Vietnam, where the French had also gone to the Indochina as the devil. The pride of the powers of the Second World War went to hell also. Others say that there were negotiations there, but however it is, North Korea comes again, and it's a matter of concern. And events in pleno desarrollo will tell us what happened during the weekend and today. It's important to see what we have on the screen. North Korea is cautious while announcing its position in the next summits in South Korea. Seoul, we saw the Ministry of Unification building that never reached unification, and we were listening to the spokesman of Foreign Affairs. We haven't seen anything or received anything from the North Korean regime, he said, regarding the U.S. and South Korean summit. I feel they need time to organize their position. Meanwhile, U.S. investigators on human rights regarding any discussion with North Korea,
on the political and security front, with communications channels steadily building up between the two Koreas, as well as the United States of America. El enviado especial de la ONU sobre derechos humanos en la República Popular Democrática de Corea, Tomás Ojea,
Thomas Ojea said, we were witness of what seems a potential for a quick progress for a security front with channels established between both Koreas and the United States, and historic plans for the summit for the future. Allow me to urge the Democratic Republic of Korea, North Korea, to consolidate this approach with a parallel opening to human rights. My main message today is that any discussion should be accompanied on an expansion of the topic of human rights. The extensive penitentiary system of the country and severe restrictions on any way of freedom of expression continue feeding fear of a state that is leaving people subject to officials. The President of the Council of Human Rights, Joint Ambassador of the United States to United Nations. Everybody was there. The topic is important, and everybody wants to inform their governments. The U.S. Joint Ambassador, James Mack, was saying that the Democratic Republic of Korea, North Korea, also uses forceful labor, including export of North Korean workers, and child work to execute
including the export of North Korean workers and child labor to underwrite the regime's illicit weapons programs.
The regime is ultimately responsible for the welfare of its people and has decided to condemn them to isolation and poverty. The chief of the European delegation, Karl Hallagall, was also there and declared that the European Union is still deeply concerned for the serious situation of human rights in the Popular Republic of Korea and urges the North Korean government to take urgent measures to stop all violations against human beings that may consist crimes against
the COI's recommendation that the
Reiteramos que no puede haber una impunidad para las violaciones de este tipo y que hay que continuar apoyando la
we must continue supporting the recommendation of the COI that should remit the situation to the Democratic Republic of Korea. China, in its daily press conferences today, said that they have close contact with the parties in Korea. The spokesman said that the situation today has shown positive progress, and we have been observing closely. My colleagues have reiterated the Chinese positions on the topic on many occasions, and I can clearly say that China has kept a close contact with the relevant parties in order to avoid the situation becoming worse and put the situation in the correct road again. Meanwhile, Xi meets the National Security Advisor of the North Korea regarding the Korean Peninsula. He was shaking hands with the main advisor of national security, the President of the Republic of Korea. It's an ongoing meeting. Chung is listening to Xi. All officials are taking notes. This was a formal meeting. Everybody very serious, and the Chinese president met today with the National Security Advisor to the Korean president. He thanked President Moon to send Chung as a special envoy to inform his recent visits to the Republic of Korea and the United States. China expects a flowing summit between North Korea and South Korea. And Xi expressed his hope for substantial progress in the denuclearization
denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula and normalization of the stakeholders. China said that it is willing to assist both republics and said that the Republic of Korea is willing to have close contact with China for that.
韩方愿同中方共同努力，推进双边关系发展。当前，朝鲜半岛局势出现积极变化，中方发挥了重要的引领作用。中方始终坚持半岛无核化目标，坚持和平解决朝核问题。
If you were in China, you would like to listen in English, so our dear Chinese community, we give the opportunity to listen to Chinese.
期待中方继续发挥重要作用，并愿同中方密切协调，维护当前半岛局势缓和势头，推动以和平。
These are events in pleno desarrollo. Both slogans are registered by myself. Tokyo, Japan, the chief of the South Korean Intelligence Service, Minister of Exports of Japan, Chu to the left, greeting and posing for the pictures, and Minister of Foreign Affairs of Japan, who later declared and said that in order to dismantle nuclear tests and missiles in North Korea, we have agreed to continue applying maximum pressure on North Korea.
最大限の圧力を継続していくこと、こういうことについてソフン委員長との間で一致をいたしました。
And then he said, we, Japan, the United States, agreed to apply maximum pressure on North Korea until it performs concrete actions.
取られるまで、今回のこの最大限の圧力は継続をしていかなければいけないというところで。
The Minister of Foreign Affairs of Japan, Taro Kono, said that Japan will be willing to provide money and any kind of support for the inspections of the International Atomic Agency as soon as North Korea requests this. If Korea does not request, we will not go. Japan and South Korea agreed on Monday to keep maximum pressure on North Korea until it takes specific measures. Now we're back in China. China has huge rooms, but this is the largest auditorium in the world. I've been there twice, and things have changed unbelievably. The Army, Armed Forces, Chinese President, the General Secretary of the Central Committee of the Communist Party, entered the meeting, and Congressman of the Third Popular National Assembly, head of the Training Commission of China, President Xi gives priority to training of the troops for war and performs the most strict investigation. The essential requirement for the armed forces to adopt a new attitude and carry out and have a new conduct lies on this. Xi Jinping said that we should continue training our troops. Without real intensified training, we cannot eradicate a false peace. And he added the armed forces should continue in time with the rhythm of time and keeping the good traditions as well. Training should be based on the different aspects. Wei, Congressman of the 13th National Popular Assembly, also spoke.
And she responded to him on the role of training for former militaries. It's a great idea that addresses the problem of former militaries, and this is really a milestone. Who are the most durable people? We will not allow heroes to cry after they have shed their blood. The military personnel should be utmost respected. Jiang Chushaishi, the congressman of the 13th Assembly, said that only qualified professors can train a good student after adjustment and reform, as well as many non-commissioned officials and leaders of squads. I have a great concern about my own capacity, and I feel stressed. Xi Jinping, Chinese President, General Secretary of the Communist Party of China, said that sub-officials are very important. It is necessary to improve the capacity of our sub-officials, and their stability is also very important. I inspected troops and I discovered that it's not easy to be a qualified sub-officials or base commander. They are an essential pillar.
Juan Huiquín, diputado de la 13ª Asamblea Popular Nacional, director de la Oficina de Planificación Estratégica de la Comisión Militar Central de China,
said that in the last 5 years, President Xi has planned, led, and promoted the reasons for the deepening and expansion of the civil-military expansion to accelerate development in several aspects and regions.
在12届全国人大的5年立法规划当中，有财经委负责制定和修改的法律，一共是33件，占到整个立法项目的1/3。在过去的5年里，有17件法律经过了审议，并
As we said, a good impulse to advance together, as Wang Weekin declared. Xi Jinping answered later.
常委会的2审，那么还剩下的14部法律，现在正在抓紧起草当中。第二点。
The highest command response would say that before the 2 meetings, the Central Committee of the Chinese Communist Party executed the first primary for military development, and the meeting passed the program in a key work for 2018. According to the documentation, we would launch pilots for a demonstration innovation. There were 32 congressmen in the meeting and member of the political bureau of the Communist Party of China, and he emphasized on the practical efforts to deepen the military-civilian integration in order to promote and support the Chinese dream and goal of building even more stronger armed forces. Xi, also president of the Central Military Commission, declared this before the plenary, and the armed police in the session of the 13th Popular National Assembly of the Supreme
body of the state. 8 congressmen shared their point of view on topics that include civilian-military collaboration in laws, finance, and economy. All Nepal has stopped because of an air accident, an aviation tragedy. Emergency staff around the disaster, yellow bags for corpses. Passengers on the ground.
Bolsas para cadáveres, las de color amarillo, motores, es decir, todas las unidades contra incendio, ¿no?
All the fire department units
rodeado de personal militar, varios escombros,
surrounded by military personnel, and the debris of the plane. The Nepalian First Minister said that all Nepal has stopped in view of this tragedy. We are very sad. At least 50 people died when passenger craft, while trying to land on the Nepalese capital, had the accident. The first Nepal ministry said that this tragic accident had stopped the entire Nepal. These are high airports, high altitude, lots of clouds. Passenger debris and personal belongings. 33 Nepali passengers, Chinese, Moldavia, 12 Nepal tourist agencies that returned from an annual sales meeting in Nepal. The next news is another air accident in the city of New York. This tragedy affects the entire country.
Bueno, levantamiento de grúas de restos de helicópteros fuera del río Este, Nueva York. Acercamiento hasta donde permitieron las cámaras. Y el resultado es que hoy volar es muy seguro.
Flying today is very safe, but when your time comes, there was a helicopter accident in New York. This was the Eastern River in New York. I also had an accident in Macarao after a shooting practice. It was the first time that everybody in the helicopter were saved. I was full of fuel and it caught fire just after they took us out. We're on the Eastern River in New York. Helicopters are broadly used there. It is being lifted by a ship hull.
Aquí tenemos una unidad flotante del Departamento de Policía de Nueva York, era blanco y negro, y aquí está el helicóptero de los tantos que sobrevuelan permanentemente.
Many helicopters fly over New York every day. 5 people died in the East River. Floating elements to help take the craft out.
Trabajadores rastreando. Buen modelo de helicóptero, además, puede ser absolutamente seguro.
This looks like a safe helicopter.
La grúa sacó el helicóptero sumergido en el río este de Nueva York.
The crane took out the helicopter one day after an accident that killed 5 people, an Argentinian tourist and Texas, and only the pilot survived. Moments before the night accident on Sunday, the pilot sent the Mayday signal saying that they had an engine fault. The helicopter hit the water and turned around 7 p.m. near the east of Manhattan. 2 men from Texas, an Argentinian tourist, and another woman, and the pilot was dismissed from a hospital immediately. The New York Police Department identified him like Richard Vance, 33 years old, who said that a passenger bag may have activated a machine inside the helicopter. However, the police refused to confirm these reports, but this just happened. It's being researched. Investigations are very detailed in this case. Once again, news. New York is always generating news, one way or another, good and bad. Results could have been better, but of course the pilot had more experience in leaving from the accident. New York has lots of helicopters, all kinds. These accidents are not frequent. They fly quite safely. We remember a passenger airplane that had a serious fault. The pilot placed it very carefully on this river and saved the life of all. This is the most recent. Lots of coverage. But results are not as the one I was talking about, the accident, when the pilot decided not to go back to the strip, but to land on this river. It's time for a pause. There is some military movement in Philippines, between Philippines and the United States. We don't have time. We have time to, but they promised a live transmission, so our peers from Dossier must be finding out what it is about this live transmission. Short pause, and we'll be back.
We have been current in every event stirring our people. Together in every broadcast, committing ourselves to a new South American point of view. Can now reach the Caribbean viewers from Antigua and Bermuda. We have done a lot of work on better understanding and communication. Telesur, the news source from South America and the Caribbean.
We're back with more events in Pleno Desarrollo. We don't have official information. Bravo, Eagles. Our borderless ambassador has not sent us a message because it's in Natal. They're probably going down here. They're probably going to cross the strait and go back to the Pacific. This trip will be spectacular. The topic today is that Moscow and Putin said some heavy notes because according to the UK, a spy was poisoned. But they're saying that it's probably Russia that eliminated its own agent. We're not in James Bond, but the real politics. Let's see how protagonists tell us the events in Pleno Desarrollo, because this is becoming hot. Perhaps we are in the House of Commons. As you can see, green, the House of Lords.
Were poisoned with a military-grade nerve agent of a type developed by Russia. This is part of a group of nerve agents known as Novichok.
First Minister Theresa May says that now it's clear that Mr. Skripal and his daughter were poisoned by a poison developed by Russia, and it's part of a nervous agents called Novichok, based on the positive identification of this chemical agent by world experts in defense technology. Our knowledge that Russia has produced this agent and continues to produce it. Russia's record of performing state murders is well known. The government has concluded that it's most likely that Russia is the author of this. So, Mr. President, there are only two plausible explanations for what happened March 4th. It was a direct act by the Russian state against our country, or the government of Russia lost its nerves and allowed it to reach in the hands of others. This afternoon, the Secretary of Foreign Affairs has called the Russian ambassador to the Commonwealth Office to explain which of these two possibilities is. And since this agent produced in Russia could have been deployed in Salisbury against these two people. My honorable friend has declared that the Russian Federation should reveal the full documentation of Novichok program to the Organization of Prohibition of Chemical Weapons. By the end of tomorrow. Putin is in Krasnodar in Russia. Listen, we're dealing with agriculture here, and we can, as you can see, we're trying to create life conditions for the people. And they're talking about many things. We will discuss this later. Meanwhile, in the White House, qualified the attack against the UK spy as
citizens on UK soil as an outrage. The attack was reckless.
We have been monitoring the event closely, take it very seriously. It was an agent highly lethal against people in UK soil. The attack was irresponsible, and we recommend the highest punishment, and we support our nearest ally according to the relation we have. She's not saying that Russia was behind this now. At this time, we are together with our ally UK, and we're still working on some details. We will largely support this process. But the story is that the nervous agent is highly lethal. In Salisbury, the local president, Holmes, Yes, I can prove that this was made by Russians, and you can discover what spy who did it. Support Trump's endorsement. This is Salisbury downtown. Lots of people walking, very healthy, no traffic. 24-year-old woman. Obsolete. I think everybody was shocked and surprised, and everybody's looking for a response for Theresa May's reaction. Everybody's saying it's Russia, and that's what Theresa May said. So I would like to see what would happen now, what Theresa May would do after what she said, and how this would continue. Old George Mall is one of the focus points. Local President Bill Moffat said that I do not believe that any aspect of our interest is served by a fight.
Interest would be served by picking a fight. Really?
Largely because I don't think that our moral position is completely impeccable in any case. And I think that there are other geopolitical forces in action that perhaps is more important to concentrate on what happened here. Of course, what they did was horrible, but I don't see...
And so forth. But I don't see that there's any sense in going, full on about it.
Muy realista.
Another local resident not identified said, even if Theresa May is in charge of the UK, she will be impotent, given the circumstances. In summary, Salisbury residents will wait for the measures Theresa May will take after her declarations to Parliament that it's highly probable that Russia is responsible of the poisoning to the Russian agent. Security measures all over, but this wasn't very useful. Whether the Russian state was directly responsible or allowed that this agent fell in the hands of others, this is what May said. First Minister said that the Russian ambassador in London was called to explain the situation and how this agent was used in the incident of March 14. Skripal of 66 and his daughter Julia, 33, has been hospitalized since they were found unconscious in front of a bank. Lugabov says that a Russian poisoning is part of a plan to discredit Russia. Members of Russian parliament and a presentator that listens. I believe that this story is part of a great plan to discredit Russia developed by someone in some place. This was Rotenkov, the Olympics, and now we have Kripal, and after this we have the World Cup. But all these histories they were trying to accuse us about, as Crimea, Ukraine, after so much talk, they're losing importance.
Безусловно, это хорошо спланированная такая истерия, подготовленная пиар-компания, которая, собственно говоря, делается опять по отработанным лекалам. Подбирается человек.
Member of the Russian parliament says, I have no doubt that this is a very well-planned hysteria, a public campaign prepared and being executed according to proved scenarios. They have chosen somebody with a specific past for nobody to doubt that it's not only related to Russia, but also, and this they will use it, for national audiences, and it's a traitor. Everybody related to Russia is a traitor. This is what he said in Left on the Air. Former Russian KGB guard said on Monday that the British reaction against the attack to the agent was part of a great plan to discredit Russia. Talking in one of the main Russian channels, was accused
of murdering the U.S. agent in 2006. Double agent Skripal, 66 years old, and his daughter, 33, was part of a very well-planned public campaign. The Russian parliament called Skripal a traitor, and he was specifically elected to link the attack to Russia. Toolbox war and the U.S. dispute, and benefits are still not harvested. Workers assembling desks. We started purchasing new equipments that are being installed here. They're not being executed because even if we won the anti-dumping case and investments, we still haven't seen business improving as we expected. The thing is that they have placed an industrial park close to the O'Hare airstrip. It should have been the winner of a war. Mahmoudabad meets the Jordan king to talk about the peace plan of President Trump. We are in Amman. Greetings, honors, in the King's Palace. Palestinian President met the king in Jordan to discuss the last updates on the state of Jerusalem and the peace plan in Middle East of President Donald Trump. Repression of Israeli soldiers against Palestinians continues. There's always a camera someplace, and things go beyond they want, especially when they abuse their force. The beginning of December 2017, Trump reverted decades of politics by saying that the United States recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. He forgot the great three religions that cohabit there and declared he would transfer his embassy. That surely was a campaign commitment. Hamas has refused to commit with the United States the peace in Middle East, and this made Trump delay his peace proposal. U.S. Vice President said that Trump's expected proposals depended on the Palestinian return to negotiations. Unbelievable. Trump, of course, is paying the support in campaign. Palestinians declare that we, the students of university protest against the criminal Israeli forces in the University of Berzat when they kidnapped the head of the student council. We will continue struggling and we will resist. Palestinians blocking roads, soldiers withdrawing Palestinian flags, soldiers shooting weapons, military in the fields against civilians. Of course, these are assault rifles. First Minister Netanyahu urges the enemy coalition to remain silent. He has less and less space for maneuver. He declared before the National Assembly, there should be elections, we will run and win, but we still haven't arrived. It's late, but not too late. We should make supreme efforts to remain the government in its current composition for the period for which it was elected. Usually he's smiling, and now he's quite serious. And there's an old man, a rabbi, who's very worried there. In view of our challenges, I evoke my Minister of Defense and the heads of the ultra-Orthodox parties. I tell them it's late, but it's not too late. We must act responsibly, and the country needs a stable,
firm government to operate during a sustained period. They need our government. And the Minister of Defense has a history back. We will tell you later. He was a boxer in a Moscow discotheque who took drunkards away. Well, that was his job. We will struggle from the inside in the government. After the second and third reading, we will make our own conclusions. He was referring to the investigations in Parliament. Lots of Orthodox and ultra-Orthodox protesting. First Minister addressed Parliament and urged his peers of coalition to remain in the government. President of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, called Trump a copycat and President Santos flat face. They are copying me. And Santos in Colombia he tried to copy the clock, but it's impossible because he does not love the people. He's an oligarchy. Did you watch the Colombian elections yesterday? My God. Santos just talks about electoral guarantees, and you watch the electoral system over there. It's a shame. The general cry in Colombia yesterday was fraud by all candidates, right-wing, centered, left-wing, all candidates were crying fraud. It is unbelievable. 70% of abstention. What do you think, Ernesto Villaga? 70%. The paper votes were out, and they were looking for more. The election tables are really ridiculous. It's like as if I took a table here and I put some witnesses and I give you some papers. And the ballots were over, and then the person in charge of elections, it's not electoral power, it's not a council, it is something they call the registry. It's as if notaries in Venezuela would make elections. Can you imagine if in Venezuela organizing elections by notaries? Venezuela is in the 21st century of electoral systems, and Colombia is in the 14th century in the Middle Ages, because the oligarchy likes a medieval system to cheat and impose its candidates. So the ballots, can you imagine that Lucena declaring that ballots are over? Make a copy at home and then you vote? It's funny, right? That's Colombia. And they come and tell us and demand guarantees. Santos, you're a shame. That's Colombia. Colombia needs an electoral system like the Venezuelan one, with guarantees, security, technology, high level, like the Venezuelan. where you can't vote twice. Secrecy is guaranteed, where people vote on machines safely, and you get your voucher confirming your vote. Before, during, and after elections, where you have members of tables, you make the certificate once the audit is made and you confirm that the ballots and the votes in the machine are equal, printed by the machine at the end of the day, where 54% is audited of the electoral centers in hot voting. And the purchase of votes. Did you see the videos in the networks? There's a house near the voting center in all Colombia. People go in, they give them money in the pockets of people, and they have to go and demonstrate that they voted for that candidate, because they take a picture of the vote, or they take the ballots already marked. Unbelievable, a fraudulent, medieval, guaranteeless electoral system. And Santos declared that this was an exemplary process. Of course, an exemplary process of robbery. We have to prepare ourselves for Sunday, May 20th, to have a record of electoral participation in all electoral centers in the country, with the guarantees and the best electoral system in the world. Okay, if this is not enough, President Carter said that Venezuela has a marvelous system where you
touch the screen and vote the way you want to.
Y votas por quien quieres e instantáneamente tu escogencia queda grabada y transmitida electrónicamente al centro de conteo, pero también imprime un comprobante. Y no solo tienes un voto electrónico, sino que también tienes un comprobante impreso.
This system assures you that you voted for whom you wanted, and you place it in the box and you can verify and corroborate results. Considering 92 elections we have monitored, 92 elections around the world, I would say that the Venezuelan electoral process is the best in the world. Who said it? A communist, a friend of Venezuela. Second World War hero also. 92 elections. You were supervising 90 elections throughout the planet. And then President Carter says it is the best electoral system in the planet, Venezuelan. And those who vote in medieval system cannot criticize our system, because people from all over the world have come to see it. In any case, traitor Santander is still there. For some reason, we have 6 million Colombian brothers and sisters living in the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. They just cross the border and stay here. Why are they here and not where they were born, that is so close? Is there cost-free education from elementary to university? Is it that all can attend? Is there that there is security and respect for life? Human rights working very well? I limit to what President Carter said in a note we had saved. We have supervised 92 elections on all the planet, and the world's best system is in Venezuela. Well, if you don't like it, complain before President Carter.
We have a couple of minutes to conclude, but we just want to remind whoever needs to be reminded that in desarrollo and in pleno desarrollo are registered in the country and in the world as property of this country. If a thief does not understand the message, she will have to understand it. Wherever you are on the other side of the screen, thank you very much for being with us. From Studio 3 of Venezolana Televisión, it is the main channel internationally because we started in 1970.
Y el único que se tiró al agua para hacerlo a las 2 de la tarde, cuando llegaba en vivo, interpretarlo, traducirlo y comentarlo, fue este servidor. Fue la primera vez
we used to work at the first time we won an award at that time.
Eso nos da alguna jerarquía.
All that gives us a hierarchy because discipline includes academic achievements, but also experience. Thank you very much. This is Walter Martinez from Studio 3, Venezolana Televisión. Thank you very much for allowing us to be here.